It looks like I got this one wrong and definitely underestimated why Neil Magny was the minus 260 favorite. I certainly thought Robbie Lawler was going to have the experience to handle a guy like Neil Magny, and I understand that Neil Magny's been dangerous in his past few fights, but once again, I gotta admit that I have this one wrong. Neil Magny absolutely Khabib'd Lawler. Plain and simple. There's no other way around it. To start off, let's get straight to the point here. Neil Magny, when he came out, the size difference was there. You can see it. And it's a big difference when you can just see it on paper and you see it in person. Neil Magny's appearance alone already said a lot about how this fight was going to have to go down if Lawler wanted to win. What we ended up seeing here is that Lawler would have to use really good footwork to work his way into that range distance. Look at the lankiness of Magny. It's going to be something difficult for a lot of fighters of Lawler's stature to deal with. Right off the bat, the question is, can Lawler do this? Can he somehow work his way into that range? The answer was no. So what ended up happening here was that Lawler tried a few of his approaches. Was this possible in tonight's fight, the way that Magny was fighting? Intelligently enough, Lawler tries to close the distance and tries a takedown early. This to me was very indicative that even Lawler was aware of this barrier. Lawler is a definite stand and trade kind of guy. We've seen this over and over again where he has no problem standing and trading. So the fact that right away in the early parts of the first round, he tries to do a very typical head between the legs, try to clamp the hands together, all that good stuff. The fact that he went for this this methodical approach showed me that the stand and trade was not appealing to him. And it was just as obvious to us. And that's why we saw what we saw. So in this clinch, something very interesting happened. Magny was able to very intelligently kind of stuff this takedown attempt and turn it into his own ground game. So Lawler initiates the ground game by trying to go to the wrestling takedown, the very traditional approach in MMA, and Magny turns it around. That is a fighter's worst nightmare. When you're trying to overcome an adversity you see in a fight and you go to plan B and plan B fails, I cannot help but feel that there was a certain sense of worry at this point, a certain sense of, okay, preoccupation with the next step for Lawler. So in a chess game, that's all about tempo. You win the game usually by being the one aggressing and making someone react to you. And if you attack, you want to be the one that actually ends up on top. This is just fighting chess basics 101, and none of that was happening for Lawler. His initial plan did not seem to go well. He went to a backup plan of closing the range, trying to get a takedown, and that turned so bad for him. So at this point in time, it became very evident that the mountain to climb was Magny, not Lawler. Lawler was going to be the one on his back foot the entire fight. Magny locks in this really cool choke as he's in the sprawl position, and he doesn't just do it once. He does it a few times. Over and over again. It's almost as if he had this really good sense of where the openings were in the ground game. Super impressive, because Lawler, although not a specialized grappler, is an experienced MMA fighter. He has the accolades and he has the time in the octagon to deal with these kind of adversities, and it almost felt like he just wasn't there. Magny was able to always turn these positions into very advantageous top positions, and that was pretty much the bread and butter of this fight. There was no way around it. Magny certainly showed us what he's made of. Early on in the fight, it didn't even take that long. And then something happens. We see a light at the end of the tunnel. Lawler then sees an opportunity to get up. He explodes quickly, gets his butt to the fence, but Magny follows with very menacing chokes. Maybe it was a false sense of danger, but either way, it affects the way Lawler defends on his way up. And it causes Lawler to never really be, again, on his own tempo. Even in the clinch exchanges that he initiated, now look what they're turning into. Magny dominating both at the ground level and in the stand-up clinch. And then, just like that, back to the ground. So he's got the against the cage takedowns that he needs to continue this pressure. This is definitely, like I said, a terrible nightmare if you're a fighter who's tried to overcome adversity. You must be thinking there is no way this is happening right now if you're Robbie Lawler. It's like, I did all that to get up. I did all that to fight the hands. He continued. I thought I was out, and now we're back in the same position again. And that just shows the consistency that Neil Magny brings to the table in this matchup. And then another light at the end of the tunnel. Lawler is able to turn the exchange a little bit in his favor. He actually gets on top and tries to land these punches. But again, Neil Magny with the defense. So now what? The only 2 times you've been aggressive, the only 2 times you've been on top trying to get something going for you, trying to generate some offense, it gets not only defended, but shut down altogether. And then Neil Magny turns it back into the game he wants. It really starts to look like the minus 260 favorite that was promised by the Vegas odds. But again, every new round starts standing up. So round 2, you kind of hope to see Lawler come out with a different mindset, or at least an adjustment. And unfortunately, no adjustment was there. Because Lawler trying to come in with his lunging punches or maybe some Hail Mary hooks, because Lawler coming in with these was something he had to time correctly, and Magny was changing levels. He was feinting, he was moving, his footwork was nice. He was showing Lawler different little looks and making it very interesting for him from the outside range. And Lawler was aware that from the outside range, Magny was going to win. He already felt this. Like I said, there was a presence in the room that night, and Lawler was aware. That incapacitated his mental and physical. It's plain and simple. And to make matters worse, now Magny, why does he have to do anything else? He can just keep it striking a little bit, at least make it look like he wants, and then, as you might guess, try a single leg. After all, you just proved that you're the better grappler in the first round. There's no reason you should evade that plan at all. And rightfully so. Magny gets that single grab and is able to use this top level control to get the fight back to where he was in control. It takes it back to the swamp waters that Lawler does not want to be in. I give full credit to Magny here. I did not expect him to pull off this kind of dominance, and I'm certainly happy to see him pass such a big test, because to do this to any other fighter is one thing, but to do it to a guy like Lawler, once again, who is a great fighter in the UFC and a champion for good reason in the past, this is a big deal. And he ragdolls him, controls him. He does so well. So taking him down was an excellent choice, not only in philosophy, but in timing. He didn't just go straight for it desperately. He showed Lawler that, hey, I'm willing to exchange on the stand-up, get Lawler's mind off of that a little bit, make him think that maybe the takedown isn't going to be there. Because in the first round, he did initiate it. Lawler was one to initiate. So he hadn't really seen what Magny would do. But Magny now gaining this confidence, says, the hell with it. I will now take this to where I'm comfortable. And of course, controls the second round from there on out. This is something that really impressed me, and Magny proved that he is evolving in the sport and that he's only improving the assets that made him a great fighter and an even better fighter tonight. Muay Thai clinch, takedowns, distance striking, all there for Magny. Robbie Lawler, 0 points. The statistics in this fight were crazy. It was like 100 and something significant strikes. Lawler had under 20, I think. It was ridiculous. You're talking about an absolute caking of the cheeks. There's no other way to put this. It was just a clinic, an absolute demonstration of MMA, an absolute boss-ass performance. Freaking boss. Mind-blowing. Like, freaking boss, man. Magny is a boss tonight, man. Anybody who says otherwise is only making excuses. This guy's for real right now. I'm loving the energy, and I want to see what he does in the future. You can see Lawler in the dying seconds of the round try these really well-placed kicks, but they weren't doing anything. Magny saw him coming from a mile away. Fight ends. You can tell who the winner is already. My favorite part was seeing how Magny looked prepared since minute 1. It shows that he is a three-dimensional fighter. There's no doubt about it, and he shut me the hell up. I got this fight wrong, 100% wrong. I was saying that the underdog was way too underdogged in this fight. I thought it was going to be a way closer fight than the odds showed. But when you have this kind of performance, you have nothing else left to say but hats off to Magny. Thank you guys for sticking with me on this analysis and seeing my breakdown and reaction to this. I'm Danny Miami. You already know. Close out the show. 1-2, baby.